Rejection is an icky feeling that we've all felt and will most likely experience again. Let's talk about this because, in all aspects of your life, if you're attempting to build something meaningful, you're putting yourself out there or daring to want more in your life, you will meet rejection on your path. And here's the thing no one says out loud enough: rejection isn't just emotional, you feel it in your body too. It's actually neurological. It lands in the body before the mind can even catch up. In today's swipe fast, overstimulated, replaceable feeling world, rejection hits harder than ever. A message goes unanswered, a date fades, a job says no, and suddenly your brain starts whispering stories about your worth that were never true to begin with. This episode is about making yourself rejection proof. Not by becoming numb, but by becoming resilient, by understanding what's actually happening in your brain, your nervous system, and your sense of self, and learning how to respond instead of spiraling. This is your emotional resilience blueprint, rooted in psychology, nervous system mastery, and a dating mindset that protects your self-worth regardless of the outcome. Stay tuned. This is an episode you won't want to miss. Welcome to Signals and Standards with Suzie, where we decode mixed messages, elevate your standards, and deliver practical insights that you can act on. I'm your empowerment coach, Suzie, here to guide you from confusion to clarity, helping you reclaim your power and create the relationships and life you deserve. So let's start here. Why does rejection hurt so much? And why do you think that means something is wrong with you? Because this is really the piece that quietly changes everything once you really understand it. Rejection hurts not because you're sensitive, dramatic, or taking things too personally, but because your brain processes social rejection in the same neural pathways as physical pain. The same areas of the brain light up whether you stub your toe, get excluded from a group, hear we're going in another direction, or feel someone pull away emotionally. So if you've ever thought, why does this feel like a punch in the chest? That's not weakness or emotional fragility. That's your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. From an evolutionary standpoint, rejection once meant real danger. Being pushed out of the group thousands of years ago wasn't just emotionally painful, it threatened survival. Connection meant safety. Belonging meant protection. So your nervous system learned to treat social disconnection as an emergency. Let's fast forward to modern life. And your brain still reacts as if a ghosted text, a breakup, or a job rejection email is a threat to your safety. Your heart tightens, your stomach drops, your breathing shifts, your thoughts race ahead. Maybe you're trying to make sense of what just happened before, and you don't really have time to process it fully before you start reacting. And this happens in both our personal and professional lives. For instance, when a partner emotionally withdraws, when a marriage ends, when a friendship changes, when you don't get the promotion, when your resume is passed over, when you're laid off, when your work isn't chosen, etc., etc., your nervous system reads it all through the same lens. Disconnection equals danger. That's why rejection can feel so deeply destabilizing, even when you logically know you're capable, competent, and worthy. Then comes the sneakiest part of all. Our brains overthink, looking for meaning. Instead of calmly saying, this didn't align, or this wasn't a good fit, your brain jumps straight into, what's wrong with me? That moment right there is where a worthiness wound is formed, according to psychological research. The rejection itself doesn't create worthiness wounds. The story you tell yourself about the rejection creates it. Rejection is an experience. Worthiness wounds are interpretations. And that disconnection matters more than we realize because experience pass, but interpretations stick around for years. Think of rejection like touching a hot stove. The pain is immediate and tangible. No one argues with that. But the injury depends on how long you keep your hand there. Brief contact hurts. Lingering causes damage. And emotionally, this can mean replaying conversations, rereading emails, scrolling through old messages, analyzing tone, maybe even wondering what you should have said differently, or convincing yourself that one rejection defines your value. That's how a moment of discomfort turns into a lasting emotional burn. You're not weak or feeling the pain. You're just being human. There's nothing wrong with that. But you do get to choose whether you keep pressing the wound. Ouch. So here's where today's world amplifies everything. Modern dating, relationships, careers, they all operate under a completely different nervous system load than they did even a generation ago. We're navigating endless options, constant comparison, low accountability, high stimulation, and minimal closure, often all at the same time. And the human brain was never designed to process this level of uncertainty without consequences. In dating and relationships, rejection rarely shows up as a clear, grounded no. Instead, it arrives as silence, delayed replies, emotional inconsistency, maybe a slow fade, someone saying they're not ready while still saying half connected. Can we all say breadcrumbs? That lack of clarity keeps your nervous system stuck in limbo. Psychologically, ambiguity is more complex in the brain than rejection with explanation. Your mind hates unanswered questions. So when there's no closure, it fills in the gaps. And those gaps almost always get filled with self-blame. In your professional life, it's similar. You may never know why you didn't get that job. Maybe not the contract or the opportunity. You're left staring at a generic email or silence after an interview, wondering what was missing, what you should have done differently, or maybe whether you were ever good enough in the first place. Again, ambiguity invites self-criticism. This is why rejection feels personal, even when it isn't. The truth, though, is that rejection in your personal and professional life is rarely about your value as a person. It's about timing, capacity, alignment, emotional availability even, organizational needs. It could be internal dynamics, attachment patterns. It could be overwhelm, fear of intimacy, or even someone else realizing that they can't meet your expectations. And you know what? That's okay. It really is. The problem is that when you internalize rejection, you end up carrying responsibility for dynamics that were never yours to manage. This is something I've said for years, and it applies far beyond dating and relationships. You don't get rejected because you're too much. You get rejected because someone else doesn't have the capacity, the readiness, or even maybe the alignment to meet what you're offering, to meet you where you are at. That distinction is everything because it protects your self-worth from outcomes that were never meant to define you. Here's something to think about. A 4-minute rule that I talk about sometimes. Pre-wiring your brain for resilience. So let's talk about what you can actually do with all of this. So before a date, a vulnerable conversation, maybe a performance review, a job interview, or any moment where you're putting yourself out there emotionally or professionally, take 4 intentional mindful minutes and ground yourself in this exercise. This is how it goes. Start by asking yourself, if this doesn't go the way I hope, what will I still respect and appreciate about myself? Maybe that you put yourself out there, that you tried. What values am I honoring just by showing up? Maybe courage, growth, honesty, effort, authenticity, maybe connection. In psychology, this practice is called positive rejection anticipation. And it's different from pessimism. You're not bracing for failure. You're preparing your nervous system for emotional safety, regardless of the outcome. Research consistently shows that when we frame rejection as information rather than judgment, we recover faster, we stay motivated longer, and persist more effectively towards what matters to us. You're teaching your brain a powerful message. My worth is not outcome dependent. And when your nervous system knows, I will be okay either way, you show up calmer, clearer, and more grounded. That's not just resilience, that's confidence. It isn't fragile or performative. Think about it. So you want to shift from loss to value, right? This is a reframe that you should think about. So one of the transformative reframes I teach in my coaching work is that when rejection hurts, whether it's in love, work, or relationships, you shouldn't ask, what did I lose? Ask instead, what value is being touched right now? Is it your value of connection, belonging, contribution, maybe achievement? Maybe your value of being seen or chosen or maybe respected by others? Because when you name the value beneath the pain, something powerful shifts. You move from shame into self-respect. You stop seeing the hurt as proof of inadequacy and start recognizing it as evidence of what matters deeply to you. Instead of saying, this hurts because I wasn't enough, you say, this hurts because I care. And caring is not a flaw. It's a strength. It's a sign that you're alive, you're engaged. It's a sign that you're invested in your life. This is how you build resilience without armoring your heart shut. You don't harden, you anchor. You don't detach and pretend you don't care, even though that you do. You actually regulate your emotions. You learn how to feel disappointment without letting it define you or shrink you. You learn from your experience. That right there is emotional maturity. That's nervous system mastery. And that's how rejection stops being something that breaks you and starts becoming something that quietly, steadily builds you into someone more grounded, more self-trusting, and more resilient than ever. So let's put this into action in today's coaching moment, inspired by what you've been asking me and what I've heard again and again. Remember, you can reach out anytime with your questions or messages at powercoachsuzie.com, and I'd love to hear from you. The question goes like this. How do I stop replaying rejection in my head and wanting to give up altogether? Such an honest question. And if you've ever asked it, I want you to hear this first. There is nothing wrong with you for feeling this way. What's happening isn't weakness, it's your brain trying to protect you. When rejection hits, your nervous system goes into threat mode. Your mind starts replaying the moment, the conversation, the silence, the email, the ending, because it's searching for certainty. It wants to prevent future pain. So the looping thoughts aren't a failure of mindset. They're a signal that your system is overwhelmed. Here's the key shift. You don't stop rumination by thinking harder. You stop it by regulating your thoughts and emotions first. Before you ask, what does this mean? You have to ask, what does my body need right now? Slow your breathing. Put your feet on the ground. Move your body. Create warmth, literally. This tells your nervous system that you're safe now. And then remind yourself gently, I don't need meaning in this moment. I need regulation. Clarity always comes after calm, never before. Now, about wanting to give up. I've heard this all the time in coaching, and I want to say this with both honesty and compassion. You don't actually want to give up. You want relief. You want rest. You want the emotional exhaustion and hurt to stop. You want to have a win for once. And I totally get it. I'm with you there. But there's a big difference between quitting and pausing. You can take breaks without closing your heart. You can rest without retreating from hope. Resilience isn't about pushing harder. It's about recovering smarter. Sometimes the most empowering thing you can do is step back long enough to reconnect with yourself and recharge your energy, rather than forcing yourself to try again from a depleted place. I'll be honest. There was a season in my life where rejection stacked. Dating, career, timing, it felt relentless. And what hurt most wasn't the no's themselves. It was the quiet voice in my head asking, am I asking for too much? What's wrong with me? Am I enough? That's when something shifted for me. I realized rejection wasn't asking me to shrink or settle. It was asking me to clarify, to raise my own standards for alignment, not lower my standards for worth. And once I anchored my sense of value internally, rejection lost its ability to define me. It became information, not identity. Rejection doesn't mean you're failing. It means your nervous system needs care, not criticism. Regulate first. Rest when you need to. And remember, you're not too much. You're just no longer available for what can't meet you where you are. And be proud of that. Give yourself a pat on the back and a big squeezy hug from me. Rejection isn't proof that you're unworthy. Rejection is proof you're showing up, reaching, risking, and participating in your life. It's physical, so treat it with the same care you would any injury. Pause, breathe, let your nervous system settle before you ask for answers. It's psychological, so question the story your mind wants to tell when certainty is missing. Not every ending is a verdict on your value, and it's human. So stop shaming yourself for feeling pain when connection matters to you. When you regulate your body first, reframe rejection as information instead of judgment and anchor yourself in the values beneath the hurt. Something has to shift. Rejection stops being a threat to your worth and becomes a signal to redirect toward alignment. That's how you stay open without breaking. That's how you build emotional resilience, and that's how you become rejection-proof. And if you slip up, it's okay. Just get right back up and keep going. Let's tie this all in with an affirmation to take with you. So take a deep breath with me and repeat. I remain whole no matter what happens. I remain whole no matter what happens. I remain whole no matter what happens. This affirmation works because it addresses the root causes of worth wounds. It reminds your nervous system that nothing external can diminish your value. I remain whole no matter what happens. You are allowed to feel disappointment without questioning your worth, and that is real emotional resilience. Thank you for being here and stepping into your power with me today. I look forward to seeing you next week for another empowering conversation. You can catch these episodes anytime on my podcast, Signals and Standards with Suzie, available on all your favorite listening platforms like Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Audible, Blast the Radio, and YouTube. For daily inspiration and practical advice, find me on social media at Power Coach Suzie. Got questions or ideas for the show? Head to powercoachsuzie.com where you can connect with me, explore the blog, or learn more about what I do. This is Suzie signing off. Until next time, keep reading the signals and never, ever lower your standards.